You know, some of rock's best tracks just don't get their due. For a lot of different reasons, though. Maybe they were buried too deep on the album or overshadowed by a hit single, or maybe they just didn't fit the mold for radio airplay at that time. But these are tracks that fans hold close to the vest. You know, the ones that you brag about knowing before anyone else caught on. They're true hidden gems. And these songs, they hit just as hard, sometimes harder than the familiar classics. So on today's episode, we're digging up 5 of those deep cuts of classic rock, songs that didn't top the charts, but they moved the dial in the heart of every diehard fan. The entries include one that contains a message written in Morse Code by one of the greatest bands ever, another that had a drum part that was accidentally erased, so it forced the band to get creative, and another that most fans don't realize is about an STD. The lyrics hidden in plain sight. It's time to shine a light on 5 underrated classics that deserve way more love. You're going to love this one coming up on Professor of Rock. Hey music junkies, Professor of Rock, always here to celebrate the greatest artists and the greatest songs of all time. You know, if you remember this.
This is your brain on drugs.
You're going to dig this channel of deep musical nostalgia. Wow. Make sure to subscribe below right now, click the white button and click the bell. I know you'll find something to dig on the channel. We also have professorofrock.com. It's amazing. Go sign up for it because we've got some really cool things coming down the line that you'll really appreciate and help us curate music history. You know, when you think of classic rock, a few songs immediately come to mind. The cornerstones, the anthems, the epic rockers, the radio staples that have shaped generations. We hear them every day.
Flying the stairway to heaven. Today's Tom Sawyer, mean pride.
But for every stairway or Tom Sawyer or Highway to Hell, there's a track on that same album, Living in the Shadows. Songs that never got the spotlight. These are the tracks that take extra effort and commitment to appreciate, but once you do, it's magical. In this episode of Professor of Rock, we're counting down 5 classic rock hidden gems, underrated tracks from legendary albums, songs that deserve way more love, still move the needle. Let's be honest, there's nothing better than when you hear a song for the first time, you feel like you've discovered it, even though it's been around forever. And maybe you have one of those experiences today where you just haven't given a certain song a chance, but you listen to it and it's like, I mean, that's an exhilarating feeling when you hear a song for the first time that you've never heard and it's a whole new lease on life. Let's get into it. Coming in at number 5, we're going with a song by a band I like to call the Holy Trinity of rock. It's the underrated YYZ from Rush's 1981 album, Moving Pictures. Often hailed as one of their masterpieces, Moving Pictures managed to balance progressive rock complexity with arena-sized hooks. You know, tracks like Tom Sawyer and Limelight and Red Barchetta. It elevated the band to new heights, earning them radio airplay without compromising their musical identity, which is very tough to do. Every song on this masterpiece showcases the trio at the height of their powers. Tight, confident, and completely in sync. And then in the middle of this masterpiece, in the middle of this track list, there's a song that doesn't have a single word. And yet it says everything. Talking about track 3, YYZ. If you've ever heard this song, you know it's not just filler. It's an instrumental tour de force that's become one of Rush's most beloved deep cuts. Now the title comes from the airport code for Toronto's Pearson International Airport. Of course, Rush's hometown hub. And get this, for those of you who don't know, the rhythm you hear in the song's opening is literally Morse code for YYZ. Neil Peart's drum work plays out the pulsing code, which forms the backbone of the groove that follows. I mean, only Rush would open a rock instrumental with a Morse code nod to aviation navigation signals, right? And here's what makes it a hidden gem. YYZ lives on an album that's stacked with massive hits. Like I said, Tom Sawyer, Rush's most well-known song. Limelight is introspective and their melodic masterpiece. With these incredible songs, it'd be easy to overlook an instrumental in that mix, but the Rush faithful, they know better. YYZ became a staple, not just on stage, but in fan circles because of its pure musicianship. It's Geddy, Alex, and Neil unfiltered. Unlike the lyrical storytelling in most of Moving Pictures, YYZ tells a story through pure sonic energy. Geddy Lee's bass is nimble and melodic. Alex Lifeson's guitar work blends funk rhythms with a classic rock grit. And Puritt, as always, is the architect. His drums shape the dynamics and guide the listener through every twist and turn of this song. It's three genius minds merged, each member speaking one language, and they're all speaking it fluently. What's wild is that the song was inspired mid-flight. Said Alex, we were coming back from the studio when we were making the record just for a break back home. And on the way back, they tuned into the identifier for Toronto Airport, which is YYZ. That rhythmic blip stuck in Neil's head. And he said, thematically, we said, let's use that airport. It's so much a part of our lives. There's a sense of busting and coming and going, and the grand emotion of the middle section is what airports can be. That symbolism, it really resonated with the band. Geddy Lee saw YYZ as a love letter to his home. Being a band that spent so much time on the road, he would say whenever we could check in for that flight home and see that YYZ tag on our bag, it was always really exciting. It's that emotional undercurrent that gives the song its true heart. Yeah, it's technical. Yeah, it's complex. But underneath the odd time signatures and dizzying solos is the simple joy of returning to where you belong. Now, YYZ was never released as a single, but it did earn Rush a Grammy nomination in 1982 for Best Rock Instrumental Performance. It lost to another classic trio, The Police's Behind My Camel, but it didn't matter. YYZ became a live staple, an extended jam that often turned into a full-blown solo showcase. Later, it found a second life in video games, Guitar Hero and Rock Band. Of course, a whole new generation of fans discovered it by trying to keep up with its breakneck riffs. And, that's the magical YYZ. It didn't need radio airplay. It didn't need lyrics. It just needed three musicians doing what they do best. From the Morse Code intro to the soaring middle section, YYZ is a song that rewards you for paying attention to the details. It's one of those tracks that reminds you why we're all Rush fans. Because even the instrumentals have more story and soul than most bands' greatest songs. Well, yeah, and if you haven't seen Rush's animated video on the song, check it out on YouTube. I'll link to it below. It's a wild ride giving us the backstory behind the Moving Pictures album cover, and it's well worth the watch.
Yes? What the heck does that mean?
Probably some new term for marijuana.
All right, next up at number 4, I've got one of the mightiest bands ever with a perfect song for their frontman's, let's say, antics. I got Mean Street, badass song by Van Halen. In 1981, Van Halen dropped their fourth studio album, Fair Warning, and it didn't sound like anything they'd ever done before. This wasn't the sunny SoCal party rock a dance the night away, or even Beautiful Girls. Fair Warning was darker. It's just more confrontational. It felt like a street fight put to music. The themes were grittier, the riffs were piercing, and the lyrics were more introspective. While it might not have lit up the charts like its predecessors, for hardcore fans and especially guitar freaks, Fair Warning became a cult favorite. And right from the very first few seconds, it makes a killer statement. The album kicks off with a mysterious fade-in, not from synths or drums, but from Eddie Van Halen, his tapping. Eddie creates this percussive, harmonic rhythm that sounds nothing like a guitar. Fans hearing it for the first time were left thinking, what the hell is that? It was another bold evolution from a player who had already rewritten the rock guitar rulebook. The sonic trickery leads straight into Mean Street, a song that punches with pure attitude. The groove locks in, thanks to Michael Anthony's bouncy bass line and Alex Van Halen's thunderous drumming. And of course, meanwhile, David Lee Roth delivers a vivid portrait of survival in a cutthroat world. Roth, who grew up in the quieter town of Newcastle, Indiana, he'd made his way to the urban chaos of Los Angeles, where this song's inspiration took shape. Mean Street is about life on the fringe. It's unrelenting. The opener wasn't released as a single, but it didn't need to be. Mean Street became an instant favorite for fans who craved the band's edgier side. Now, while radio gravitated toward Unchained and So This Is Love,
Change, nothing stays the same. Unchained, and take me home. This is love. Oh, I need your loving.
this track was Van Halen with a switchblade that cuts you to the bone. It didn't have a catchy chorus or a radio-friendly runtime. It had a vibe, and that vibe perfectly fit the rest of Fair Warning. A record that sounded more like a warning shot than a party invite. The lyrics even called back to the album's name. Somebody said fair warning, Lord strike that poor boy down.
Somebody said fair warning, Lord.
Now, interestingly, the song's roots, they go back even further. An early demo of Mean Street was recorded under the title Voodoo Queen. It had completely different lyrics. You can still find that demo floating around. And while it has the bones of the final version, it's not nearly as menacing. The transformation into Mean Street came with, age and experience and a much darker worldview. One that seeped into every groove of Fair Warning. One of the most underrated elements of this track is the structure of it. It's more than just a guitar showcase, it's layered. Eddie's multi-track guitar fills, they had bursts of melody and outright chaos. And David Lee Roth even switches gears mid-song for one of his signature spoken word interludes. It's classic.
In this desperate part of town.
It's dramatic, it's stylish, and it's all held together by the band's airtight chemistry. This is Van Halen firing on all cylinders. Mean Street, it isn't just a hidden gem, it's a turning point for the band. It announced that Van Halen could go deeper and darker without losing that groove. And for the fans who wanted something more than just party anthems, man, this song delivered, more than delivered. It remains one of the most powerful openers in the band's catalog. And it's just a masterclass in how to make rock and roll sound dangerous.
Lord, strike that poor boy down.
At number 3, I've got a huge mistake. Somebody accidentally deleted the drums from this song and it became something even more spectacular. Coming in at number 3, it's the mighty Zeppelin with Celebration Day. Led Zeppelin's third album was one of the biggest left turns in rock history, right? After 2 records full of lightning strike riffs and blues-drenched wailing, Zeppelin 3 flipped the script completely. It opened with Immigrant Song, but much of the rest of the album leaned into acoustic guitars and folk textures. Jimmy Page and Robert Plant had holed up in a cottage in Wells, Brian Urar. They were looking to get away from the spotlight. And what they brought back was a record that explored the quieter, more introspective corners of this band's sound. But nestled between the haunting Friends and the aching Since I've Been Loving You was a track that sounded like the city never slept. Celebration Day.
For what I knew. Had a friend, she once told me.
Celebration Day bursts out of the speakers with a jittery guitar riff from Jimmy Page, matched by John Paul Jones' nimble bass and Bonzo's intense drumming. I mean, it's the sound of stepping off the plane in a brand new place and going into sensory overload. That's not a coincidence, though. Robert Plant wrote the lyrics after his first visit to New York City. You can feel the wide-eyed wonder in every one of these lines. My, I'm so happy I'm going to join the band. No mysticism here, no hobbits, no heartbreak. Just a man falling in love with someplace new. Back when the band took the song on tour through the U.S. in 1971, Plant would introduce it as the New York song. Now, Celebration Day may sound like a burst of spontaneity by a great band, but there's a great story behind it, and it's anything but typical. It almost didn't happen. Originally, the plan was to connect friends to another song via a Moog synthesizer drone. But while recording, an engineer accidentally erased Bonham's original drum track completely. And Bonham couldn't remember the drums that he put down. It was a disaster waiting to happen. But it turned into something really cool because instead of panicking, Jimmy Page flowed with it and it became something even better. Jimmy Page, he just improvised. He let the synth drone spill into the next track and then he dropped the band into Celebration Day mid-stride. What could have been a disaster turned into one of the coolest transitions in Zeppelin's catalog. But because Celebration Day sits between two juggernauts, Immigrant Song and Since I've Been Loving You, it's often skipped over. People don't give it a chance. It was never released as a single. Not many Zeppelin songs were. So it just hasn't gotten a ton of airplay. And unless you were deep into Zeppelin's albums, you just plain missed it. It's not the first song people name when they think of Led Zeppelin 3, but I'm telling you, it's worth another listen. Musically, Celebration Day walks a tightrope. Page doesn't overpower, he dances. Bonham doesn't bash, he bounces. Jones glues it all together, laying down a groove that lets everyone else go wild. And Robert Plant? He's just loose and excited. Celebration Day feels like it's moving constantly, shifting gears like a cab weaving through Manhattan traffic. It puts you there. Celebration Day, it shows a different side of Led Zeppelin, not the mythic warriors wielding Thor's hammer riffs, but a band that's wide-eyed and buzzing on the thrill of a new city and a new sound. It's truly the sound of discovery. All right, coming into number 2, we've got kind of a nasty one here. And it's no surprise that it comes from AC/DC. See if you can guess the track from what I say here. AC/DC's 1975 album TNT was a seismic shot across the bow. Later folded into the international version of High Voltage, this LP was a raw electrified blend of blues and hard rock. It introduced the world to the meaning of loud, let's be honest. With Bon Scott out front, the Young Brothers laying down monster riffs, TNT delivered rock anthems like It's a Long Way to the Top If You Want to Rock and Roll, and of course the title track, both of which would become concert staples.
It's a long way to the top if you wanna rock and roll. TNT, I'm dynamite. TNT.
But you know, tucked in between those high voltage bangers was something completely different. Have you guessed it? It's a song called The Jack.
If she played it right, she's got the jack.
The Jack slows everything down. It's a smirking, slow-cooked 12-bar blues jam that sounds like it was taken out of a smoky bathroom.
She's got the jack. She's got the jack.
Now, at first listen, it plays like a straightforward blues number about a woman who was dealt the wrong card.
Was I to know that she'd been dealt with before?
But of course, a closer look reveals AC/DC's signature brand of innuendo, double entendre. She's got the jack, that wasn't about playing poker at all. In Australian slang, the jack was a euphemism for an STD. And since I can't say it on here without getting banned, it rhymes with gonorrhea, let's say.
Jack,
Let's just say the boys in AC/DC were familiar with that term during their early days. That's because around that time, the band had moved into a house together in Melbourne, right near the city's red light district. According to Malcolm Young, the house became a magnet for waitresses and groupies and working girls. And it wasn't long before the party lifestyle caught up with them, and members of the band actually started catching a certain itch, let's say. One night, Malcolm got a note from a woman accusing him of giving her the jack. And in true AC/DC fashion, he laughed it off and handed the note to Bon Scott, who turned it into a joke song. Bon started riffing on the phrase right there on the spot, singing, "She got the jack." And of course, Malcolm played a bluesy groove behind him. Then a few days later, Bon brought it back during rehearsal and began building lyrics around it. By the time they got in the studio, the jack, it had taken shape. A sly, tongue-in-cheek slow jam wrapped in poker metaphors that somehow made an STD sound almost poetic, right?
She's got the jack, and who knows what else?
But there's another version of the story too, one that Bon told himself in a 1976 interview that I tracked down. He claimed he was the only one who had gotten the jack, and that after a night with a girl at that Melbourne house, she'd gone straight to drummer Phil Rudd next, unknowingly passing the clap down the line. The situation turned into a band mystery. Who gave it to who? Who made who? But it was enough inspiration for a blues classic. The album version, it toned it down. It swapped out the explicit lyrics for clever card game double entendres, right? She gave me the queen, she gave me the king.
Gave me the queen, she gave me the king.
But in concert, it was a different story altogether. Bon would improvise wildly, sometimes calling out women by name in the crowd, teasing them in front of thousands of fans.
She gave me her mind, then she gave me her body.
Now, over time, the jack, it became one of the band's signature live moments. Truly a hilarious crowd pleaser. And you know, once Brian Johnson took over the tradition, it continued, complete with female fans flashing the stage and Angus Young stripping down to his AC/DC boxers. Musically, the jack, it stands out from the rest of TNT. While the title track and Livewire are explosive and really fast-paced. While the jack is slow and swampy, it gave AC/DC a chance to show their roots in barroom blues and to prove they could hold an audience's attention without a wall of riffs. Of course, decades later, the jack still brings down the house. I mean, it's rude, it's ridiculous, and it's all in good fun. It's classic AC/DC, exactly what you expect from him. A dirty joke turned into a rock and roll standard. And for that alone, it earns its spot as one of the greatest hidden gems in their catalog. All right, I'm excited about the #1 spot today on the countdown. I've got a song from a true rock and roll classic, a great album, and this one has a touch of melancholy from one of the greatest voices in rock history. I got Boston with Hitch a Ride. I mean, Boston's 1976 self-titled debut album, it's perfect. It's a no-skip classic. I talk about it pretty much every week. It still amazes and moves the needle. Engineered almost entirely by Tom Scholz in his basement studio. It was a game changer, right? Every track is drenched in shimmering guitar harmonies, layered vocals, and studio wizardry. I mean, we talk about it nonstop on here. I don't ever get tired of talking about it. You probably get tired of hearing about it. Had classics like More Than a Feeling and Peace of Mind and Foreplay Long Time. The day it was released, it was already a classic. It was the blueprint for arena rock. Of course, went on to sell 17 million copies in the US. It was the biggest selling debut album of all time until Appetite for Destruction. I think it's a better album than Appetite myself. Tucked away on side 2 is a track that doesn't get the spotlight very often, but it absolutely deserves it. Hitch a Ride is a stunning piece of melodic rock that shows off the band's softer, more introspective side. Starts with an acoustic guitar and organ, almost ballad-like. Before building into one of the album's most exhilarating solos. I mean, Brad Delp's vocals, they're wistful. They capture the song's theme of escape perfectly. Now, when he sings this part, it's just moving. It's melancholy. Then he takes us from being on the verge of tears with our heart dropping to the roller coaster of rock that Boston perfected, lifting us from ground zero into the stratosphere. What makes Hitch a Ride a hidden gem is how effortlessly it gets overshadowed by Boston's bigger singles. Any band would kill to have a song like this. And with Boston, it's just another masterwork from a masterpiece album. I mean, when you got More Than a Feeling kicking off the album, it's really easy to miss the quieter track that follows later. But for fans who dug into the LP, Hitch a Ride is just a rewarding discovery. And when I say that, I mean that with every fiber of my being, a rewarding discovery. It's a journey worth taking every single time. This song, it just gets to me. It gets under my skin in a good way. While the album's hits deliver massive riffs and sing-along choruses, Hitch a Ride takes a more textured approach. I mean, it's not built for stadium chants. It's a headphones on, eyes closed kind of track. It contrasts sharply with the anthem Ready Smokin' or the ambitious suite of Foreplay Long Time. But that's what makes it truly unique, truly special. It's Boston at their most introspective, using atmosphere and melody to tell a story of escape and hope. The back half of the song, though, is where it really lifts off. After the melancholy, like I said, it shoots into the stratosphere. Scholes, a former MIT-trained engineer, takes the reins with a soaring guitar solo that bends and climbs like the song's protagonist taking flight. It's one of the most underrated moments for him as a guitarist. It captures the feeling of leaving your troubles behind and chasing the horizon. Hitch a Ride also offers a snapshot of the technical precision that went into every single Boston track. Scholes' layered multiple effects and his guitar lines, they're just futuristic in a time that seemed like anything was possible. I mean, in a way, Hitch a Ride sums up the magic of Boston's debut album. It's tight, it's clean, it's emotionally resonant. While the band would go on to bigger and louder songs, Hitch a Ride remains one of their most artful compositions, one that chills to the bone. And for those who missed it the first time around, I'm telling you, it's time to check this one out. Tom Scholes once said, "I didn't care about making a hit record. I just wanted to make songs that were emotional and powerful that I could listen to and get lost in." And Hitch a Ride, it's that in spades. It's not showy for the sake of showing off. It's layered. It's full of feeling. Every tone, every shift in dynamics is engineered to carry the listener from weariness to wonder. And its emotional resonance comes from the most versatile singer of his time, Brad Delp, who could go all power or all soul at a second's notice.
Smoke like water runs inside.
The more I listen to this song and this album, I come to believe that Brad Delp, he's right there with my favorite singer ever, Steve Perry. Man, what a time we all grew up in. This was perfect music. And I'll tell you what, Brad Delp, Steve Perry, I don't know if you get into this better, best kind of thing. They're different voices that do different things. But Brad Delp, for my money, he might be the GOAT. I mean, there are certain times when I listen to their songs where I'm just like, I've never heard anything like this. And it truly is emotional magic. Brad Delp, reflecting on the album, once said, "It was amazing to see how Tom brought those songs to life. When I first heard the finished tracks, it didn't sound like anything else out there. It was just totally unique. I would say what even took it beyond totally unique was Brad Delp. Anyway, Hitch a Ride is a perfect example of what Brad was talking about in that quote. It's not just a song, it's a mood, it's a mindset. It's one of the most quietly powerful moments on one of rock's most explosive records ever. Can't say enough about it. There you have it. My top 5 picks for classic rock hidden gems coming from the 70s and 80s. Check them out. I'll link to them below. Really listen to these songs, especially Hitch a Ride. It's just perfect. Thanks so much for watching. Leave us a comment about these songs. Do you know these songs? What are some other great hidden gems in classic rock that we should be listening to? I'm just always trying to push the limits to find great songs, not just celebrate the ones that we all love and enjoy, but to create new moments with these great bands. Let's have a great discussion below. If you like our content, we invite you to subscribe. We'd love to have you as part of our community. Till next time, 3 chords and the truth, my friends.